Hello and welcome back. On the last episode we looked at this high gain 80 channel Walkie Talkie, and we had a few problems with this. At first it wouldn't power on, and we had a damaged choke which we repaired, and then we found out we didn't have any receive whatsoever. So I split this video into two because it was getting a little bit long. So I left you in the last episode. If you haven't already seen it, go back and watch it first. I left you in the last episode where we were trying to get the receive to work, and there were some dry joints on the board. I wonder if that was the problem. And boom, we're back in business. 1 2 1 2, testing 1 2. There we go. That didn't take too long. That wasn't too bad. It was about half an hour going round, but there you go. That was those broken joints up there. Crystal filter seems to be okay. So this lovely old handheld radio is back in the business. So what I've got to do now is I'll do my usual, take a nice detailed picture of the board on the other side, and we'll go through, this always takes ages, go through and stick the labels on, see if we can highlight where everything is, and give this a tune up. But to be honest, that's great. That's really great. It may well have been dropped. I mean, that's the sort of thing you can get when things are dropped, but it's actually at the top of the radio and it doesn't show any signs of dents. But wow, super pleased with that one. A dry joint. Right, I've looked at the circuit diagram and I think I've worked out where everything is and what everything does. I've put the actual names and then the description after that one. So that's T8IF, T10IF, RV3RXM, so that's the meter. T5RX is obviously the receive side. T3TX, T4TX receive. You've got the VCO down there underneath that plate. You've got your frequency adjust hiding down there on a little trimmer capacitor. L7TX is one of the final stages in the RF out. And you've got RV4TXP, which is the power meter setting, and L10TX, which is another one of the inductors before the final antenna, and T13TX is also one of those. And like I say, this will cover the high gain 80 or the Ham International Handmaster 8040. So these are the same for either set. Now the only difference I think with the Ham International, it does have a CBPA function, which is actually shown upon the wiring diagram here. If you can see that there, where was it? CBPA, there we go, just there, CBPA. And this one doesn't appear to have that unless I've missed it somehow. But anyway, we're going to set up the receive first. I've already checked that the VCO is correct and the mixers are okay, and they're on frequency. So I'm just going to go ahead and go straight into receive. And for that, we're going to use the tiny SA to generate the signals as we've done recently, and then move these cables out of the way. Because it's AM, we don't obviously need to worry about Synad, but we are going to obviously want to get the peak audio of the waveform out. So what I'm going to do for that, I could just use a multimeter or the oscilloscope, but with this old Synad machine, we have an AC volts facility. So I'm going to use that. I've not done that before. We're going to use the Synad in the AC volts capacity to peak the audio output. Okay, there's our signal being generated, and we're going to start the line up now. We'll just turn the volume up so we can hear it. And there's our signal, and we'll go through the receive, the IFs and the receive, and what we're looking for obviously is the maximum volts on our voltmeter. I'll do that off the camera because it's going to be a bit annoying with the audio going, and we'll get back and see what or if there's been any improvement made. We've gone from 12 down to 10 there, I think 11.5 on the dBm scale, whatever that is in microvolts. So that has brought it up a little bit. Okay, so now we will check the transmit frequency. I think it was pretty much on frequency, but we'll check that now. And there's the S meter. Our signal on receive goes over to this left hand side here. We've set the signal generator, the tiny SA, for minus 67 dBm, which is 100 microvolts. So we want that to be right on the end of that scale there when it's at full chat. And I think I've identified the trimmer as RV3RXM, so we'll try that. There's indeed RV3RXM in the corner there, and we just need to adjust that so it's absolutely There we go, we can take it down and bring it up so it's exactly on the end of the fat red. We're turning you around the right way, guys. There we go, that's our 100 microvolts. Yay, what a lovely radio this. Look at this, solid metal that. There you go, bang on frequency there. No problems there. We'll just adjust the modulation and put a tone under it with the tone generator, although it's probably somewhere close. The next one is the transmit power meter. That's done on that one there. I've already set it. If you need to adjust it, that's where it is. And I've set it so, although I haven't adjusted the transmit power yet, I will do that next, but it goes over to the blue there on transmit. So I will have a look at that once I've done the transmit. There's not much, not a huge amount on transmit alignment. We've got that one there, T3TX, T4TX, L7TX and L10TX, and T13TX. It's a fixed loading coil for the antenna. There's no adjustment on that, but we're going through the antenna socket at the minute. So we're not doing amazing power at the minute. I'm hoping we can bring this up a little bit. What scale are we on there? We're on the 20 watt scale, so we're probably doing a couple of watts, but I am going to put the voltage up a bit. This will run off of 13. We're only running it off 12, so let's do that first and see what difference that makes. We're now on 13.8 volts, and if we've got 10 of those 1.4 volt batteries in, that's going to be 14 volts anyway, isn't it? So right, let's see if that's made a difference. Not really, look. So there's probably a bit of leeway in this. I think that's been tuned down, so that's still only a couple of watts, isn't it? So let's put this over to the 2.5 watt scale and see if we can bring that up some. No adjustment. There was nothing going with T3TX or T4TX. They didn't seem to make any difference. We're doing just under 2.5 watts there. So now we're going to go with L7TX, which is a little wound inductor. See if we can. It's not so marginal. I have a feeling there might be something else keeping this power down. Yeah, that's not really helping. Well, we're running out of options now. L10TX. Let's try that one. I mean, 2.5 watts is still pretty usable, guys. But with such a big radio, it does seem rather anemic, doesn't it? No, it's amazing that these aren't making a huge amount of difference at all. So I was spinning them back to their original positions as much as I can anyway. So we're down to the last inductor really. Now this one does look like it's been out a little bit. It was twisted right out the top of the can, so I wonder if this is going to help. Well, that's going down at least. So at least we're showing. So the fact that it's been screwed out would mean to me that this is probably, yeah, we're getting a little bit more now. That's 2.5 watts, guys. I don't want to leave the inductor hanging right off the edge. And that is our limit, 2.5 watts. It's not even 2.5 watts, is it? So I'll just perhaps go through that again to see if I'm missing something. If I've gone a bit mad somewhere. And we're pulling 0.6 of an amp. Okay, I think that's, to be honest, that will work surprisingly quite well, I think. 2.5 is fine. I mean, that's what he's getting, that's what you get. I mean, I can't squeeze any more than that out of it. And I'm certainly not going to modify anything. That is it, aligned. What a lovely little set. I'm just going to check on the back of these inductors, because there was, when I was tuning it, there was a bit of a crackle. So I'm just going to reflow these, resolder these, and then just check those again with the tone on, just in case there's any problems. But if you're taking one of these apart, you only need, and you don't need, obviously you can get to the back as you've seen, you don't need to take all the millions of screws out like I've done. You can, all you need is 1, 2, 3 there, and then the equivalent 1, 2, 3 there. So 6 screws in total. Remove all the knobs, I say these knobs are much different to the knobs that are on the Ham International version. These are lovely aluminium knobs, look, solid aluminium, really really nice, and that's what I think it does make it stand out against the other set, that it's got these knobs. You could of course get some of these made. These look fairly easy to make, or saying that though, that spline on the inside might be tricky for the hobbyist. Yeah, all round, what a little cracker. And you really, honestly, when we do the test with Mick, we'll go to the same location that I used for the last radio on the channel, and I bet you there's not a huge difference in signal strength to Mick. So, and this certainly seems to be receiving well. I bet if we went for a little walk with it tomorrow afternoon, we'd pick up some of the activity from the States with this with no problems whatsoever. So yeah, I'm going to throw this back together, do that, check those joints, throw this back together, give it a clean up, and then show it to you on the bench, and then we'll see if we can rattle Mick and get him to give us a test, and then we'll get it back to Dom. And yeah, this is certainly a rare beast indeed, very very rare. That's cleaned up super nice. Just sprayed some foam on it, cleaned the controls, and it's all come together lovely. And it really is, it's absolutely lovely radio, this one. Really really is. It's all metal bodied. Like I say, is it 1.6 kilograms with the batteries in? Absolutely stunning. And believe me, honestly, 2.5 watts will be absolutely fine, and it won't be so painful for the batteries. We'll try this with the supplied batteries Dom's given us, some nickel metal hydride batteries to test it with, and yeah, I mean, it's absolutely mint. I imagine this probably went wrong fairly early on, and it was just put away in a box and forgotten about. So yeah, it really is of its time, isn't it? It's when they say they don't make them like this anymore, they definitely don't, sadly. Beautiful bit of kit, eh? I've got a stash of these Lutron rechargeable batteries. I've charged them up. There they are, there in the tubes, and we'll drop them in with the very important battery eliminator. I can't express how important this is on the vintage radios. When you see that, do not be tempted to fill this up fully with AA cells, although I think Dom said that you can't on this. It's because they're slightly longer, so that's a safety feature there built in. So let's put the battery saver in, pop the cells in, and measure the voltage before we turn it on, see what we're getting, and then we'll turn it on. Right, I thought we were home and dry, but we weren't. I'll show you why. This battery compartment has only got rails on the two sides to support a full set of battery in the two sides, and so you have to put the dummy battery in that side. Well, the problem that we've got with that is that you can't get on this side, for some reason. It might just be a slight tolerance in the way the spring is. You can't get 4 batteries in that side no matter what. There's about 2-3 mil too shallow. You just cannot get the 4 in there. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to, instead of using the dummy battery that comes with it, because batteries have grown a little bit since this radio was made, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 2 slightly smaller dummy batteries, which will mean you can just populate the thing completely. Now that might mean we have to somehow we might need to put a bit of foam along there. I've got some foam anyway, just to keep that dummy battery in place, but that's probably the best bet. Yeah, so I've seen this in other older sets actually, where it's very tight and you just cannot on that rail. This one accepts 4, that's fine on that one, but this one is just slightly, you see the little raised connection for the positive terminal, it's just slightly different, and they will not fit, and you don't want to force them. So I'm going to do that. We're going to make a couple of dummy batteries and fit those slightly smaller than these cells, and just have to remember when I measure the cell with my caliper, not to put my metal calipers right across the battery, eh? Done that before. Right, there's the dummy cells, and what we're going to do is, got these little brass stud things here, we're going to solder those in to the ends, pop them in and connect them with a wire, and then glue them in place. So I'll do that now, and we'll try them in the radio. There we go. There's the dummy battery all complete. Just to keep the batteries from wiggling about, I put some self-adhesive foam in there so the battery's got something to sit on, stop them rattling about a bit. And it may well have had something like that in there from new, I'm not sure, but there seems to be a bit of movement with the cells, so I'll put that in there. Hopefully it'll be nice and snug. Just drop the lid on. You can see it's sitting on the foam a bit there, and then hopefully when we push that down it should lock into place. Yeah, no battery movement now. They were rattling around a bit before, but they're really nice and snug in there now, and they're not going to go anywhere. And the nice thing is now, something that Dom couldn't do before was put normal cells in there because they were too big. And there we go, all the batteries are in there. You can't lock it on. There we go, channel 20. So we'll see if Mick is about. I'll put my walking shoes on and we get out to the same spot that we went to in the last video. If you haven't already watched that, I did a fairly large handheld fairly recently, so just look on the channel for that. And we're going back to the same spot, and we'll see what we can do with this bad boy. Yeah, so we did manage to get out, but we hit upon a problem pretty much straight away. When we managed to get hold of Mick, we couldn't hear him at all on the radio, and in fact we couldn't get much static out of the radio whatsoever. So I thought something was a little bit wrong, so we cancelled it for today and got it back into the shack to check it out. Right, so we brought the radio back and I put it onto the Tiny SA, and we've got a minus 111 dBm signal, and we're hearing it. It's a bit faint. And I have a theory. I think that the problem we've got is that when we plug our external antenna in, it obviously disables the external antenna, and I think there might be a little problem on the auxiliary of that. I'm just going to prove that theory by see if we can feed this signal to the antenna to see if we could actually detect that off the antenna. So I'm just going to use some crop clips to see if we can get a signal to the antenna. So we've got the signal from the SIGGEN now connected to the antenna. As you can see, we've got no signal, not picking up any tone. So let's just see where that tone comes in. If it comes in at all. We're not getting it, are we? There you go. We can see here on the schematic diagram, our antenna signal comes down there, goes through the normally closed contact of that socket, then back through the coil, the loading coil, to the antenna. And we are obviously doing all our tests from this point, but I think when this is closing, we're not getting this signal back through that loading coil, or it could also be because this loading coil is open circuit. That could also be why. So I'll do some tests, just straight continuity tests between the socket and the antenna connector, and we'll see if we can find the culprit. But the signal is definitely not getting to the antenna. Hopefully we've not caused any damage to the RF output stage by transmitting like that, but we only transmitted briefly anyway. Right, so I'm pretty sure I found the culprit. This antenna needs to be isolated from its connection point there, because via that little angle bracket, that connection point there is ground. That's negative volts, and this was a short. Now I think what's happened was, I've looked at the video of me opening this up. Someone's had this antenna out before, and they've got these washers around the wrong way. This washer needs to be on the outside, so it doesn't short the center of this shaft to that plate, because that's just grounding the antenna to the case and to the chassis. So yeah, I didn't spot that because I just took it off and put it back in the order which I found it. So I didn't really check it, and I should have thought about that. So hopefully we've not done any damage. I don't think we have. And if we have, I'll have to change, the power transistor. But let's get this reassembled the right way round, and then check it again. Okay, so if you have one of these, the order of placement is the plastic washer, then the bracket, then the fibre washer, then your anti-shake nut washer, and then your nut. and then that way you're not shorting the antenna to the bracket. I simply didn't spot it because it was the way it was when I took it off. Now on other radios this could cause a real problem on transmit, obviously. So we'll test that with the meter and we'll plonk it back in, and then we'll stick our external signal onto the antenna and see if we get a bit more reception. And there's our answer. Right, we're all done. The loading coil does knock a little bit of the signal out at the very low end on this. I guess that's the trade-off. But I couldn't find anything wrong with the loading coil. There was a little bit of a dry joint on the back of the board, but we're now in a position where it's working. It does work a lot better on an external antenna. You will get, if you've got one of these and you use an external antenna, you will obviously get much better performance. I mean, they're always a compromise, these telescopic antennas, really. If you've got an external antenna socket, it's going to work a lot better on that. So anyway, yeah, that's one to watch out for, isn't it? You can never ever trust that the person that's reassembled the radio has reassembled it properly, and I just didn't spot those washers being the wrong way around. So hopefully now, next shot you'll see is me back out in the field chatting to Mick. Right, we've come back. It's another day, much the same sort of day, but we've had absolutely torrential rain in between. And as you've seen on the video, I've hopefully fixed that receiver fault. It's not quite as sensitive with the loading coil in place in the external antenna. I guess that's just the loading coil knocking a bit of the signal. It will obviously do that. So let's see if Mick is about and see if we can get a radio report today. We've got Americans coming up on 20, so we might have to skip around to find the channel. There we go. Hi Mick, I think we've got Americans on the 20 here. I don't know if you're receiving me.
Yeah, hello Paul, that's better. Yeah, there is somebody coming through very loud, but if you've got me okay.
Yeah, Roger, got you really well. I'm actually on the President Randy at the minute, Rog.
Copied on that.
Yeah, Roger D. Okay, I'll get the other radio out there, Mick, and then you just give me a shout on the Randy. Let me know when you're ready. Well, on the radio, let me know when you're ready to go.
Yeah, okay, will do. I'm just going to set the video up now.
Right, we're still getting the American stations.
Yeah, it's all yours, Paul.
There we go, and there's Mick. Okay, Mick, I'll get this on the tripod. I think it'll probably be better for the video, but. Yeah, how copy there? How does it compare to the President Randy on the audio side? I'm going through the speaker. There's no condenser mic on this. It uses the speaker on the front. You're on receive. You're certainly sounding pretty decent here.
Yeah, okay, Paul. You're sounding very good indeed. And compared to the Randy, audio-wise, you're about the same actually. So. You're coming through well, so yeah, I'm pleased about that. And that's a high gain 80 you said, didn't you?
Yeah, Roger D, this is a high gain 80.
Yeah, Roger D, this is a high gain 80. Quite a rare beast in this form anyway. And a lovely example. I'm just so paranoid I'm going to drop it. I think it weighs about 1.3 kilograms with the batteries in me. It's only doing 2 watts, just 2 watts. But it was certainly very good on receive on the bench. Once I sorted out this antenna problem there, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, you're booming through. 2 watts.
Booming through. 2 watts, and that's really incredible. You're doing very well indeed. The audio quality is, it's good. I must admit, it's good for AM, because we don't normally get it that good, Paul.
Yeah, I think conditions are quite decent today, which is helping.
Okay, if you want to stop your recording there, I'll get this set up on the tripod so I can use the external mic, Rog.
Yeah, okay, I'm stopping recording now.
Hi there, Mick, if you want to let us know when you're ready to go.
Hi Mick, are you ready to record?
Yeah, it's already recording, so fire away.
Okay, I'm just going to try it now, hang on. Are you receiving me now, Mick, that's all?
Yeah, still receiving. Nice and clear audio, so that proves that's working.
No, I don't think it's working on the external mic there, Mick.
Oh right, are you not getting any audio back from me then?
No, can you hear me though?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, okay, that's probably just the wiring in the microphone. I can sort that out, that's not a problem. So I'll do that back at base. So yeah, okay, well I think this is working pretty decent. I'll just get a bit closer to the camera. You can see the size of this thing. It is a beast.
Oh yeah, I don't think I've ever seen one before, to be honest, and it looks huge. Oh dear. On the end of your, not the last over, the one before, I think there was a bit of interference coming in, but that might be the AM, so we know what it's like, don't we?
Yeah, Rog, I can hear that interference as well. Okay, mate, that's brilliant. If you want to stop recording at your end, I'll sort the receive problem out with the external mic. That's nothing. I'll do that back at base.
Okay, Roger D, fantastic. I'll stop recording here. I'll do a bit of the camera. I'll get back to you first, then I'll do a bit of the camera.
It ain't too hot, it ain't too cold. It's the time to try to do it there. It ain't a windy day there, though. Yeah, now. But I know, man, I've been down here since 95, 96. And I ain't really seen no real cold days. I ain't really had one good little ice storm and a couple of little flurries or little snowflakes, but it ain't been no bad weather in a while there, them.
What a lovely old set. It just shows you, doesn't it? You don't need like loads and loads of power. If it's a decent set and it's set up correctly, you can get really good performance. And I was surprised at how well the front speaker worked. It is a quality speaker though, I could see that. So they've done a very good job with this lovely old radio. It's just a shame there aren't more of them about. This is a real proper museum piece in this condition, so highly valuable. So a really good save. So if you have been, thank you ever so much for watching. I say there's more walkie-talkie videos to come. I know you guys kind of like those, probably a bit more than the repair ones. So I've got loads of walkie-talkies to test and to repair, unfortunately. So if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. And you know, if you enjoy these videos, as it really helps me out a hell of a lot. So if you could do that, that'd be great. Okay, if you have been, thank you ever so much for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.